You're listening to Greater Good Radio Hawaii. Please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. Today's guest is Gail Mukaihata Hannemann, CEO of the Girl Scout Council of Hawaii and wife of Honolulu Mayor Mufi Hannemann. What brings you to be so involved in the arts in Hawaii?
I always say that my parents spend lots of money to find out I have no talent. So it wasn't about necessarily that I am such a talented human being that I just want to find venues in order to do my thing. But it was really, when I thought about it, what the arts taught me. And when I moved to Hawaii, it's kind of two parts to the question. When I moved to Hawaii, I was trying to find something. Mufi and I have very similar professional backgrounds. We both have been involved in public policy, etc. And I knew from the day one that he wanted to be in public policy or public elected official, or in that public policy arena, I should say. And not that I wanted to stay out of it, but it would be too much to two of us being in the same field. So I was looking for some things that I could personally contribute to in a public policy way, but that would kind of stay out of the areas that he was interested in. And he's always been very much interested in business development, etc. And so I looked down, and I was looking at all the things that were happening in Hawaii, or not happening, I should say, for that matter, and what I felt would be a meaningful thing for me to contribute efforts toward. And it ended up being at the arts. At that time, the state was doing major budget cuts, and a lot of times when there's budget cuts, it's the arts go first. And what I was thinking about was my personal experience in that most everyone is more like me, where they aren't going to be an artist, they don't really have artistic being, but we're all human beings, and the arts and the culture really speak to that part of the human being. And I know from my side, when I look at it, some of the things that I learned in the arts really helped me in my professional experiences today. So, for example, I learned my fractions by studying music, because it's all about counting measures and bars and notes and et cetera, et cetera. I also learned, I had a teacher who was very into music theory and listening and harmony and things like that. Those skills that you learn when you're trying to hear notes and figuring out what the harmony is, things like that, the same skills you use when you go into meetings and there's all this discord going on, or all this thing is going on. You're trying to pick out the different sounds or the notes or what's going on, and then trying to, if your job in my particular case in the CEO, is in trying to take that stuff and harmonize it, or to align it, or to figure out which note is out of tune and how to get it back. And so it's the same exact skill. Same thing with the visual arts when you study. It's about being able to see spatial relations, and that very much has and plays a part into business development and understanding relationships and things of that nature. So I feel that it's important for every child to have that, as well as somehow being in a studio, music and art just speaks, it has a common language. I mean, you don't necessarily have to understand that language to have that music or that piece of art or that performance, pull at your heartstrings. So that's how I got involved. The interesting part, though, is that it almost, where I had more success keeping my Girl Scouts separate from Mufi, the arts have actually collided. Even though that was the one area that I thought that I was making this effort to make sure that I stay completely out of the same arena. It's actually now, in his role as mayor and my role in terms of doing the community development part, where the alliance have actually crossed over. So one of the areas would be the Chinatown redevelopment. We had kind of gone, Arts at Mark's Garage is in that corridor that many of us have had the vision of trying to help change through the arts, and it's also has become one of the priorities of Mufi's administration on a broader scope, not just the arts, on a broader scope. But so it's interesting now. There's a summit that's coming up on Chinatown Summit, and the Alliance will play a small part in that. One is that we're part of presenters. I'm actually not going to do the presenting, but we have a presentation, and then also we had won a grant from the Ford Foundation. The Ford Foundation, out of their economic development section, has awarded, it's turned out, I think it's 9 of us now across the nation on demonstration projects to show how the arts can transform communities. And so through that, they're also giving us additional funding to try to entice people in the Chinatown area to come up with bright ideas. We have this grant that we're going to give, grants probably, like these mini little grants, I guess is probably the right word, for people who come up with bright ideas to try to improve the Chinatown area. So it's an example where sometimes your best intents ends up not working out the way you want it. I'm not complaining. It's just I find it sort of ironic, but it also speaks to what the arts is about, and it's about building communities, and that's what the mayor does too. He's supposed to be building communities too. So,
do you sing?
Oh no! Oh my goodness!
Okay.
Okay, no.
Good thing you
we won't
said
be
that, 'cause
doing
we would.
duets. No.
Thanks for joining us today on Greater Good Radio. For more information or a transcript of today's show, please visit us online at greatergoodradio.com. This is your host, Evan Leong and Carrie Leong, saying please join us next time for another episode of Greater Good Radio, Hawaii.